Day became more than a movie. It was an event. Lines wrapped around blocks. News anchors talked about it. Late-night comedians joked about it. And audiences everywhere were shown something very specific. Not just aliens, but how aliens might arrive. 1 year later, something eerily similar happened. Only this time it wasn't on a screen. It was over Arizona, and thousands of people looked up and did exactly what the movie had taught them to do. They watched. Psychologists have a term for this: pre-familiarization. It's the idea that repeated exposure to an idea, image, or scenario makes it feel less shocking when encountered again. Conspiracy researchers use a different phrase: predictive programming. The belief that media subtly prepares the public for future events by embedding imagery and emotional responses in advance. There's no scientific consensus that predictive programming exists as an intentional practice, but pre-familiarization is well documented. It's why emergency drills reduce panic. By the end of 1996, millions of people had been given a visual and emotional template for what a massive alien presence might look like. 13th, 1997, Arizona experienced something that would later be called one of the largest mass UFO sightings in history. It began shortly after sunset. Reports came in from towns northwest of Phoenix: Prescott, Halden, Dewey. People stepped outside for different reasons: walking dogs, taking out trash, finishing a cigarette. Then they saw lights, not blinking like aircraft, not streaking like meteors. A formation. 5, 6, sometimes more lights, arranged in a wide V shape or boomerang, moving together, slow, purposeful, silent. Some witnesses described the lights as part of a solid object, something so large it blocked out the stars behind it. Others said they could sense shape without seeing edges, a dark mass against the night sky. Phones rang, neighbors called each other outside. Cars pulled over. They stood in driveways, on sidewalks, and they watched. Up to 20,000 witnesses. Around the same time, an aircraft was approaching Phoenix. The pilot noticed lights moving towards his plane, unusual enough to report. He contacted air traffic control and asked if there was any known traffic in the area. There wasn't. So the pilot reported an unidentified object. The pilot landed safely. He didn't make a scene. He didn't realize the scale of what was happening on the ground. That pilot was Kurt Russell. The actor wouldn't publicly identify himself for nearly 20 years. When he finally did, it wasn't framed as a dramatic revelation, just a casual acknowledgement on a late-night show. He wasn't treated as a key witness. Some later speculated that his identity was hidden intentionally. Others argue something simpler: no one was looking very hard, because aviation did not respond the way people might expect. There were no emergency groundings. No interceptors scrambled over Phoenix. No radar data publicly released showing unknown craft. According to online research, planes continued to land. Air traffic continued, which raises a question. If something of extraordinary scale was reported in the sky, why do no public aviation records show flights being diverted or runways closing? Skeptics point to this as evidence that nothing extraordinary occurred. At night, another set of lights appeared. These were different. Bright orbs hovering in the sky, slowly descending. One by one, they faded out. This time, the explanation came quickly. The United States Air Force stated that A-10 aircraft were conducting night training exercises at the Barry M. Goldwater Range. They dropped illumination flares, and this explanation does explain many reports. Flares hover, they descend slowly, they extinguish one by one. Video footage from that portion of the night aligns well with known flare behavior. But here's where the controversy begins. Many witnesses insist they saw something earlier. Hours earlier. Something structured, moving as a single object, not descending, not flickering. Two visually different events, separated by time, later merged into one explanation. Once that happened, the conversation changed. If the lights were flares, then the mystery was solved. Anything else became misperception. According to some UFO-focused researchers, not mainstream historians or officially verified sources, Later FOIA requests raised additional questions. Some claim that documents obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests suggest no scheduled flare drops over Phoenix during the earlier time window. Others point out that certain Air Force bases reported no records of involvement. At the same time, key data has never been released publicly. Radar logs, FAA tapes, air traffic control recordings, NORAD situation reports. Some of these records may no longer exist due to routine destruction policies. Others may remain classified. There is no definitive proof that anything was hidden, but there is also no complete public record that conclusively resolves the event. And then came the response. Instead of a detailed explanation, Arizona's governor held a press conference. He brought out a man in an alien costume. The room laughed. The message was clear. Not this didn't happen, but this is silly. Ridicule is a powerful tool, more powerful than denial. If you deny something, people argue. If you mock it, people hesitate. Years later, the same governor, Fife Symington, would say something very different. In 2007, he stated publicly that he himself had seen something that night. Something enormous. Something he could not explain. As a former Air Force pilot, he said it didn't resemble flares or any aircraft he knew. He explained his earlier response by saying he didn't want to cause panic while in office. That humor felt safer than uncertainty. Critics argue this raises more questions than it answers. Supporters say it shows the complexity of leadership during unexplained events. Either way, the tone had been set. 4 years later, a comedy series premiered, Phoenix Nights. Absurd, awkward, beloved. It had nothing to do with UFOs directly, but culturally, something shifted. The word Phoenix became associated with comedy, with farce, with awkward humor. But entertainment already framed it as fiction. The governor made it a joke. Comedy made it socially uncomfortable. No one tells you to stop talking, they just smile. This is what some sociologists refer to as social silencing through ridicule. You don't censor the subject, you make it awkward to raise, and so the theory emerges. Not that Independence Day caused the Phoenix Lights, not that Phoenix Nights was ordered to silence witnesses, but that culture did the work quietly. A blockbuster prepared people emotionally. A real event occurred. A mundane explanation absorbed the mystery. Comedy seriousness ensured the topic never regained. No grand conspiracy required, just timing. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe Hollywood guessed right. Maybe flares explain everything. Maybe comedy was never meant to silence anyone. Or maybe the most effective way to bury a mystery isn't to erase it, but to make it a joke. Because once something becomes funny, it stops being investigated. And the lights over Phoenix, whatever they were, remain officially unexplained. If questions like this intrigue you, if you enjoy exploring the space between fact, theory, and unanswered mystery, then stay with us and watch our next video.